For those of you who have been living underneath a rock, spoiler alert, TikToker Reesa Teesa shared the challenging aspects of her marriage, describing it as a different type of hell. In a 50-part series on TikTok, she revealed that her ex-husband, whom she refers to as Legion, exhibited narcissistic behavior and was a pathological liar. One of the most heartbreaking moments she disclosed was when he failed to accompany her to the hospital during a miscarriage, claiming he was in a work meeting, and even had a fake executive assistant inform her via text message. Despite the emotional turmoil and loss they experienced, Reesa admitted that the miscarriage almost made her hold onto the relationship even more. She emphasized the importance of therapy in her healing journey and expressed fear about her future after such a tumultuous romance. The series has gained immense attention online, with millions of views on TikTok, shedding light on the painful realities of her past relationship. The link to Reesa Teesa's TikTok account is in the video description. I decided to take a look at the plethora of reactions to her videos. I was specifically looking for women who were sharing similar stories. In this video, I will be sharing some of those stories along with reactions to her story and posts from other women on the internet who have similar stories, so feel free to grab your favorite beverage and curl up on the couch or do your laundry. If you have a story to share, please share in the comments below. Or DM your story to me on Instagram or Facebook if you want to remain anonymous. The links are below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and click that notification bell. With that said, let's get started. I've watched 40 parts so far because I'm still trying to find out what all the hype is about. Anyone who has ever dated a narcissist can list all the lies they told, and if you've never encountered one, you might find it just as crazy. Mine hid an addiction, getting his ex-wife's best friend knocked up and moving a homeless addict that he was having relations with into his basement. That was in the less than 2 months it took me to figure out his BS and block him from my life in every conceivable way. I hate that Reesa went through her situation, but a whole lot of it was just her continuing with a situation she knew was off. I dated a pathological liar for 4 years, and when he left my life, I felt it in my core. I cried for hours nonstop, and once I was able to breathe, all I could do was thank God. I've been in a relationship that played out a bit like this, with the lies, promises, miscarriage, marriage, and divorce. I got out of it, and luckily, it wasn't such a nightmare, but this is definitely bringing back bad memories. I'm so happy she is telling this story to hopefully help other women out there struggling in this situation and can finally recognize what's happening. Edited to add, years later, I found the most amazing man, and I feel so lucky to have him in my life. We have children together, and life is good. It does get better. Don't give up, but don't settle. Eye-opening. I watched all parts, and there were too many similarities to my current relationship. They are self-employed and have no reliable income, so no contribution to anything. The things that are similar and additions: test driving cars/picking cars that they would get me and never have, viewing expensive houses with no intention of buying, providing some type of proof of funds, asking me to pay non-refundable deposits on these properties, inquiring into accommodation in other countries when they have no means of paying, general shopping/picking out clothes or items that they would buy and never have, saying how much they will be worth once deals went through but never did. They would talk to people intensely for weeks, and then suddenly they would disappear, promising me and others jobs, salaries, opportunities, which have not happened. I almost lived this life. It didn't go quite this far, but I did change up my entire life for a POS. On paper, he was fine, better than fine, but I knew something was wrong. Like Reesa, I did not want to be alone. Plus, I had moved to a different state to be with him. I finally ran when he took a swing at me in the middle of one of his tantrums. So scary, and yet the best thing I could have done. I am changed and do not remember the girl I was before. Bless her for being brave enough to share her story. As a 47-year-old married woman who has had a lot of experience with Legion types, I try so hard to warn my younger friends about their toxic relationships, but none will listen. I now just sit back and keep my mouth shut. One guy lied and told me he was a neurosurgeon. I honestly didn't really believe him like that in the beginning. I couldn't find his name on any medical website, and he was never busy. Turns out, he was a receptionist. Like, dude, you don't have to lie. I'm used to dating bums anyway. Did I mention that he was only 24 years old and also finished medical school and his residency? And was the director of the entire neurosurgery program? When I finally caught on to my narc ex and slowly started pulling away, he beat me to the punch and coldly discarded me right before our anniversary, which fell near Valentine's Day, on the first day of my vacation week from work, just prior to my medical board exams. Yeah, it was awful, heinously calculated timing. I was so sad, hurt, and confused. Then, 2 weeks later, his ex agreed to talk to me over the phone. She carefully explained to me what had just happened to me, shared that he'd done the same to her, and coached me through part of my recovery. By sharing her story, the way Reesa is sharing hers, she literally saved my sanity and my life. One of my girlfriends dated a compulsive liar. He said he bought her a house, so she gave up her apartment and hired a moving company to move her. She arrived at the house to find the new homeowners enjoying a cookout. She contacted his mother and she told her he had a long history of lying. She also found out the engagement ring he gave her was fake too. At 19, I was dating this guy in the neighborhood who told me he was 23. He eventually went back to his hometown. My mom asked to speak to him on the phone, and he told my mom he was 26, 27. She was ready to ring my bell. I asked him why he lied to her, and he said he didn't. He actually lied to me. I ended it right there because he was weird AF. He didn't have a car, he was on government assistance, and honestly, he was probably slow. Hallelujah, I never touched that man. Some of this resonated with me, regarding an individual that I dated in my past. If you have someone who pathologically lies to you, it zaps you of any excitement that you had prior to that. In my case, this was a couple of decades ago, and I've had to slowly heal from the experience. I wish the same for this young lady, and I hope that she finds the love that she deserves. No one deserves all that she's describing. One of my previous partners lied about being disabled and adopted. He would have pretend narcoleptic episodes and randomly fall on the floor in public, and other people would have to pick him up. He also pretended to unalive himself when I started to catch on and wanted to break up. It was wild. Being married to a pathological liar for 9 years, I can tell you that when Legion told his aunt that he never lied to Reesa, he was 100% convinced that he never lied to her. It gets to a point that their lies are so effortless that they themselves start to believe them. It's a disease. My best friend's child's father made her believe that he was paying for the remodel of her house. The contractors did like 75% of the work, and she noticed they weren't returning her calls and wouldn't finish the job. One day, the owner showed up to her house and told her that they were never paid after the deposit. She called her child's father in front of him and played it off and casually asked him if he made the final payment to the contractors. He lied through his teeth and said he made the payment and even added additional details like when he went to the bank and who he talked to. She put him on the speakerphone and asked him why the contractors were at her door asking for their money. This dude started stuttering and mumbling, still lying, saying he paid them until he finally said he didn't pay them, but he gave the money to Saul to give to them. To this day, we have no idea who Saul is, and my best friend had to pay them the rest. She kicked him out the next day. He lied about so much other stuff, but this was by far the most egregious. I met a guy recently, January 2024, when I was traveling. In the space of an hour, he told me he was an ambassador's son, an NFL player, and a crypto millionaire. I asked him what brought him to the country we were in. He said he was holidaying with the son of the King of Qatar. All information I never asked, but he went out of his way to insert into the conversation. I honestly think there are a lot of very mentally unwell people around. Please, ladies, be careful and do not confront these men face to face about their lies. Just go along with it, and when you get home, block them. I'm actually thinking about getting a burner phone for dates. Also, if you're serious about someone, hire a private investigator and do background checks. Your life is too important. All information is unverified until it's verified with external evidence. As he was paying for the food, I saw his last name on his debit card, and when I got home and did my Googling, I found his Instagram, which had 200 followers. LOL. Just for jokes, I messaged him and said, "Sorry, I forgot to ask, what team do you play for?" He told me the LA Chargers. Needless to say, there is no record of him playing for the team. I think because I'm British, he thought I would be less aware of American football. The next day, he was insistent that we meet up. I sent him the following text: "I don't want to go. It's pretty clear you are lying about yourself, claiming to be an NFL player, ambassador's son, etc. I'm not sure why you feel the need to tell these lies. However, it makes me uncomfortable, and it's not something I want to be around. Enjoy the rest of your trip." Men are trifling these days. I also recommend watching body language videos on YouTube. They are so helpful. Every time this guy lied, he had the duper's delight face. A good friend of mine was bipolar, and he engaged in this level of pathological lying. He tried to tell me that he got signed to a major record label, and he even did the fake phone call thing in front of me, pretending he was talking to all these famous artists. For a minute, he actually had me thinking it might be real because I couldn't imagine taking a lie to that level. Reesa's tire blowing out on the way to meet Legion was her guardian angel, or her ancestors trying to keep her from going through with meeting him. And she persisted. It's not her fault, but it's something we can all learn from. When these little things try to stop you on your path, pay attention. Not all roadblocks need to be broken through. Sigh. My daughter's dad lied about his whole identity: name, kids, date of birth, etc. I was making a last-ditch effort to try to track him down for child support when my girls were 2. A Google search led me to a young lady's MySpace blog that had a picture of the 2 of them and her putting him on blast. I found her on Facebook, explained who I was, and she responded by giving me his real name, social security number, his phone number, his mom's phone number, last known address, physical description, and some photos that she had of him. She also gave me the contact info for all his other kids' mothers. How did she find out? They were living together when he got arrested. While he was locked up, she found some papers and journals he kept. Years later, I briefly talked to a guy I met online who said he was a forensic psychologist when he was actually a manager at Sprint. It was my own stupid fault for ignoring obvious red flags. The man also said he had 4 kids, by 4 different women. And come to find out, he had more like 12 kids, and owed more than $250,000 in child support. He had no job, lied and said he had just been laid off. Lived with his mom, lied and said she actually lived with him and he was taking care of her. No car, lied, it was actually his mom's car. No license, taken away due to owing child support. And what did I do, you might be asking? I married him. To my credit, though, I didn't know all of this when we married, but I did know enough that I should have run the other way. My dad is like Legion. He has lied about having a PhD and being a lawyer. He's lied to his fiancée and told her that he has 2 kids, my sister and my brother. In reality, he has multiple kids by different women. He has lied and told people that he lives in Texas, but he actually lives in Atlanta with his fiancée. He has lied multiple times about paying bills. When I was a kid, he would say that he paid the cable bill, and when the cable got turned off, he'd go looking for the receipt to prove that he actually paid it. He didn't. One time he got mad and hit the TV and broke it, and he claimed that lightning came into the house and struck it. He is also lying to his fiancée. She thinks that he is single, but he is still married to my mom, which is why he won't marry the fiancée. Those narcissists always love bomb you and somehow get you to live with them very early on. I dated a man for about 6 months who was living a double life and cheating on me basically every day. He had a child I didn't even know about and was still on every dating app out there, taking girls on dates all while telling me he wanted to marry me. He was also living with me. And when I finally caught him cheating, because several girls reached out to me and told me he was cheating with them, he tried to manipulate me and blamed his cheating on me. And then when that didn't work and I was leaving him, he played the "I'll unalive myself if you leave" card. So hearing this story really hits me on a personal level. I feel for Reesa. I started dating at age 17. My first boyfriend lied about being Afro-Latino. He said his family was from Venezuela. He also lied about his father's death. He didn't die. He just divorced his mom and never came back. He lied about having an older sister and 4 older brothers. He was a year older than me and lied about being in college on a baseball scholarship. But when I looked up the roster, he wasn't on there. His response was that they hadn't updated the system, but he had the schedule. When the season started, he said he tore a ligament, so he couldn't play. He pretended to have surgery and pretended to be one of his older sisters, texting me updates while he was having surgery. This is how he got caught. I had my suspicions and told him if I found out he was lying, I was going to break up with him, and if he told me the truth, I can work with that, and we can go from there. We were then 18 and 19. He told me he wasn't lying, I needed to believe him, and that me being so suspicious was me not trusting him. Back to the fake surgery. Well, he had surgery, and then his sister texted me from his phone about him going in. And then I didn't hear anything in the following 5 to 6 hours. I texted and called him, but nothing, so I called his mom because I was anxious. I asked her how he was, and she was confused. I told her that I was sorry to bother her, but I wanted to know how his surgery went because I hadn't heard anything in a long time and I was worried. This is how the conversation went. His mom: "Oh Lord, honey, he's not in surgery. He's at work." Me: "Work? I thought he was in college full time?" His mom: "He's not in college. He works at the grocery store." Me: "What about his older sister?" She texted me saying he was going into surgery. His mom: "Older sister? He doesn't have an older sister, just the little sister you met. He doesn't have any other siblings beyond that." Me: "But he said he had 4 older brothers." His mom: "No, honey, just the one little sister." I thanked her for her time and told her that I didn't want to talk to him and to tell him that the relationship was over. He proceeded to call and threatened to stalk me for 3 to 4 months. He called friends and lied about why we broke up. The last time we spoke, he called me saying he wanted me to visit his sister for her birthday because she looked up to me. I questioned him about lying about his little sister looking up to me just to get me over there, and he responded by calling me a bee and effing selfish. The guy I was dating at the time told him if he ever called me again, he was going to F him up, and he never contacted me again. I went to therapy and moved on. I feel like Reesa's story is a common scam. I had a former client years ago tell me a similar story. The man ended up buying the furniture to the house, so she believed him when buying a home with him. He ended up taking 10 grand of her money, and then fleeing. She ended up finding out that he did that to 3 women before her. My last ex lied about so much. Lied about how he made money, how much money he made, how many cars he had, being able to pay bills, things he was going to do for me, being in college, transferring schools, and even lied about graduating. I dated a guy who was sleeping with basically every woman in my state. He lied to me daily and gaslit me so hard that I was basically on fire the entire relationship. The jig was up when he got both our coworker and my best friend pregnant a few weeks apart from each other. Trash. My dad lied to my mom a lot when he met her. My mom was 23 years old and in the army when she met my dad. He told her he was also 23. He was not, he was 18 years old. He also told my mom that he grew up in the projects with a single mom and that they would eat a lot of rice because it expands in your stomach to make you feel full. And he joined the army to have a better life. His dad, my grandpa, was a sheriff, and his mom, my grandma, is a nurse. They have always been married, and they own a nice home together and some land. And then, while mom was pregnant with me, he told my mom that he had an older sister that was kicked out and the family didn't talk to her. The older sister would call my mom periodically while she was pregnant with me to chat and see how she was doing. Right before my mom had me, she found out that my dad was 19 and came from a 2-parent household. She was upset about his lies. Fast forward to when I was about 8 months old, and my mom went to my grandparents' 25th wedding anniversary celebration. While she was visiting, she stayed at my grandparents' house. My mom was looking at all the pictures they had hanging up and didn't see any pictures of the older sister. She thought that they must really not like their oldest daughter, as they didn't even have a picture of her in the house. One evening during my mom's visit, the older sister stopped by to meet me, and my grandma picked me up from my mom and took me to the back room with my uncle. My mom talked with the older sister, just like they'd been doing over the phone. And my grandma came back into the living room and was very polite but short with her, which my mom found to be odd because my grandma is genuinely the sweetest person ever to everybody. And then the older sister left. My mom told my grandma that she thought the older sister was so nice and that she had been making calls to her throughout the pregnancy. She asked my grandma why the sister wasn't around as much. She told her how my dad said he was super close to his sister since she got kicked out. My grandmother was shocked. She told my mom that she didn't have any daughters, just 2 sons, my dad and my uncle. She said that woman was my dad's ex-high school girlfriend. Needless to say, they broke up and never got married. I love both of my parents, and they are doing well in their respective families today, but I was gagged when my mom told me all those things. My daddy was young and dumb, LOL. My ex-girlfriend just lied about everything. She told me she had her high school diploma and some college. She didn't even graduate high school. She lied about her and her ex's relationship. She was always lying about people she was talking to. She lied about why the previous chick wouldn't let her see her kids. I actually found the letter from her, LOL. She lied about how she got pregnant with her son. She made it seem like an AI situation when she just had relations with him. I honestly think she is bi instead of lesbian. She just talks to women who are usually younger than her because they are probably easy to manipulate. We were long distance. She messed me up in the head bad. It's crazy that people can listen to all of this and blame Reesa. He manipulated the F out of her. This is what gaslighting does. If you don't think ish like this happens, watch true crime. You'll see people who go through ish crazier than this. But unfortunately, they weren't as lucky to leave like this lucky woman. Stop blaming effing victims and blame the perpetrators. I was on and off with this guy for 10 years. He was always telling me I was going to have his first kids and all this. One day after we had been back on for a few weeks, I got a call from his wife. Found out not only was he married, but he also had a toddler son. But that's not all. He also had a 10-year-old daughter with another woman. Dude had been lying to me for 10 straight years. A guy wanted to make things official with a family member of mine. He lied and said he was single, had a legal job that paid well, and claimed that he wasn't talking to anyone else. He ended up having a wife and about 8 different baby mamas in New York, New Jersey, and Honduras. My family member knew that he had impregnated 3 women during their 5-year relationship, but she stayed with him and also had babies with him. Her stupidity for being with him would have lasted much longer if it wasn't for that quote-unquote job that paid so well, unaliving him. The thing about pathological liars is that they have a lot of practice. They tend to be very good at lying and covering up any missteps. The skepticism tends to start slowly and grows the closer you get. I first started to be concerned when I saw my ex lie to other people. If they could do that so easily, could they lie to me that easily too? Yes. Then you notice all of the little things that don't add up. Then you start questioning them and trying to catch them in lies. At the end of the day, you're left questioning everything. It's an unhealthy dynamic in my experience. Run. I dated a liar. We met, and bam, like an instant connection, he was perfect in every aspect. He told me all kinds of wild stories, like how he worked for bodybuilding competitions, had a lot of money, etc. We quickly were together, and everything was always turned around on me when I would question him. He always had convenient excuses for everything. He told me his brother unalived himself. I later saw that same brother on a friend's Snapchat. Classy, right? The final straw was when I woke up one morning to him telling me he was leaving for the Marines in 45 minutes after signing up the night before. So, yes, run like the wind. Had a man tell me he was a whole principal and would make up fake scenarios on the phone. I did a whole bunch of research on his background and wasn't even able to confirm if he was a teacher. Wild. Luckily, I never went on a date with him and blocked him. I met a guy like this once. I'm now in my 60s, but when I was in my late 20s and divorcing my husband for being unfaithful and using illegal substances, I ran into this guy who was really nice to me. I was really vulnerable, and I believed him. Even though there were lots of red flags, it only took me about a year, maybe less. And then when I was about 35, it happened again. This time I was really ready to get married again, and someone showed me that they were ready to get married again. But it was all a lie. Luckily, I did not marry either of those people. I ended up getting married later, and I've been married for 27 years. The moral of the story: keep your eyes open. Lying men seem to be a constant factor in my life. My last serious boyfriend was a habitual liar. He lied about going to his internship. I don't know the details, but we were both in college, and he had a one-day-a-week internship where he either dropped out or got fired. For the rest of the year, he'd leave the house on Wednesday and come back at the end of the day and make up stories about his day. When the lie came out, he was super embarrassed, and I was very understanding. I dated my ex for 9 months. In a lot of ways, it was an incredible relationship. I felt truly loved, cared for, and desired. We felt like a perfect fit and started seeing each other a few times a week, and were working to integrate each other into our lives. I will spare you all of the details of this part of the story because it doesn't really matter. It was a storybook romance type-ish. This person made me feel more loved and valued than I ever have in both words and actions. Important to note here that it truly did not feel like love bombing. It felt like a normal, healthy relationship progression. At around 7 months into us dating, he drops a bomb on me that he has a child who was living with his ex out of state, and that he didn't know how to tell me, and was scared that I would break up with him, and that hiding the existence of this kid became a web of denial that he found difficult to untangle. We tried to stay together, but he was unable to balance having a relationship with me while simultaneously reconnecting with his child and building up that relationship. We broke up with the intent to be friends in the future if I felt like I could do that emotionally. Cut to 2 months later, I reach out to him letting him know that I would be willing to give being friends a shot. This person meant a lot to me and was a valuable part of my life despite his lie/our breakup. He says yes, that he is so glad to hear from me, and we set a time to meet up. We spent 4 weeks attempting to be friends, but both feeling like it was more, and that our feelings were still there. He said he would be honored if I gave him another shot to do things right. He was vulnerable and open about his feelings, and said that he felt like he made the biggest mistake of his life by breaking up with me when what we had was so special. We then had hours of difficult conversations over the next few weeks about what it would look like to get back together, what he would have to change, follow through on, etc. Last weekend, we decided that I would start staying at his place during the week to give us extra time together. He said he would clear out a space in his closet for me, and he was planning to make me a key to his place. Cut to last night. We go out for drinks. He is visibly anxious, shaking. Something is wrong. He tells me that he is really stressed about wanting to do things right this time around and not hurting me. He slams his beer and asks if we can go somewhere else with cozier vibes so that we can keep talking about us. The bar we were in was freezing and bright, and at the time I agreed the place sucked, so I agreed to move to a new place. He bolts out of the bar. We have a 15-minute long silent drive where he is clearly stuck in his head about something, but he isn't talking. We end the night with him dropping me off and making tentative Valentine's Day plans. This morning, I woke up to a text that said he wanted to be honest, LOL, with me, and that he was caught cheating on his girlfriend with me last night when we were at that first bar, and that he is cutting all ties with me so that he can repair his relationship with her, and that this will be the end of whatever it is we have going on. I am honestly in shock. It feels like our entire relationship was a lie, and that he is a sociopath, or at least a pathological liar. He has always made me feel like I was the only person in the room. I never once felt like it was even a remote possibility that he would cheat on me. I have no idea why he would put in so much effort and work to get back together with me if he already had a girlfriend. Like, what is the point? I would understand if I was making things easy for him to have on the side, but I was not. I was having difficult conversations, requiring him to open up and be vulnerable, etc. I didn't make this easy at all. He purposely made his life difficult by letting me back into it, and I am so confused why anyone would even bother. Update: I have since found his current girlfriend. It is not his baby mama, it is a woman he started dating in April while we were together. So he cheated on me for 6 months with her. And then when we broke up in September, because he was having a hard time adjusting to his kid being in his life again. What was actually happening is that he could no longer maintain 2 girlfriends. So it turns out when we broke up in September, he moved her into his apartment, and she has been living with him ever since. Incredible. One guy I dated lied about every single one of his interests and his mental health conditions to make it seem like we were very similar. Pretty much every guy I've dated lied to look more appealing to me in the beginning, and then was shocked Pikachu when I became disinterested, because that's not who they were. I'm a woman, and a guy lied to me about being straight. That hurt. An ex lied about being mentally stable, then lied about being medicated and stable, and then lied about having access to firearms. That was terrifying. My ex told me the most insane lies that when I found out the truth, I felt like it altered my brain chemistry. I actually swapped notes with his ex-girlfriend, and she'd been through a similar experience. The man was a compulsive liar and narcissist and lied as easily as he breathed. It was all down to insecurity, inability to take responsibility, and shame. My therapist told me to write a book, but honestly, I don't think people would believe it was true. I've personally known men who faked their entire personalities to get with women before, so hearing that men will lie about all sort of stuff doesn't surprise me at all. On a consistent basis, I've heard about men lying about being child-free to date certain women so they could sabotage their birth control, baby trap them, and trick them into becoming stay-at-home moms. They definitely like to target career women and those in college. I just watched part 1 of Reesa's story, and I can already say this is my life. There is so much she said in part 1 that is my part 1. I'm going to watch all 50 parts before I comment anymore. I would absolutely love to meet this woman. I already know without even listening what she has been through, because I've been through the same hell. I just discovered that my husband is a pathological liar. I'm a 27-year-old female, and he is 29. When I first met my husband 3 years ago, we've been married 13 months, he told me that he had a master's degree and that he was currently working on a second one online. When we moved, he told me that he never wrote his final paper and never finished the degree. I, of course, encouraged him to finish it, but we stopped talking about it. A month ago, he randomly told me that he had finished the degree and that it was hanging in his office. I was instantly suspicious. Who gets a degree and doesn't immediately tell their spouse or celebrate? There was no degree hanging in his office. I later found some of his work papers, and there was a bachelor's degree listed, but no master's degree. He immediately told me that that was a clerical error, and his dad had his master's diploma. He said getting human resources to change it from a bachelor's to a master's in the system was extremely difficult. I asked for proof of the degree, but he never supplied it. I even called his university, and they said he had a bachelor's. I asked him today if he actually believed his lies, and he said no. He knew they were lies and that he just wanted me to be proud of him. When we first started dating, he tried to tell me that he was adopted. A few months later on his birthday, I saw a text from his mom come through that read, "Happy birthday, I remember when you were born, and they laid you on my chest, 8 pounds, 3 ounces. I confronted him about it, and he tried to say that she had given him up and then gotten him back. He also said his dad's name wasn't on his birth certificate. I found his birth certificate, and his dad's name is on it. We got in a big fight over it, and it eventually just came down to him saying, I don't know, that's just what I thought. I don't want to be married to someone I can't trust, and I can't trust a word he says or trust him emotionally. I really like being married, though, and I see glimpses of who I fell in love with at times. I don't think those glimpses are his true self, though. I'm ready to settle down and start a family. I hate to start all over and end a marriage so soon." I, female 22, met a guy off Hinge, male 25, and he just ghosted me. Our chemistry was insane and it was going so well. I felt kind of stupid for how it made me feel and how much I liked him after such a short period of time, 2 to 3 weeks. But I realized it was actually because I'd been love-bombed. It makes me feel a bit justified, I guess, over how sadly I took it, but I still feel kind of dumb and just blindsided. I need to confirm that I was love-bombed. A lot of affection off the bat, right from the first date. Pet names started from the first date, taking me to / showing me his workplace on the first date. Heaps of compliments, joking about getting married from the first date. Expensive dates and disregard for money. First date about $700, second date about $500. Fake future planning, dates, etc. I'm so into you. I'm obsessed with you. You're perfect. Calling to ask if I was at work and planning to visit me at work. Our buildings are close to each other. Consistent communication at the start and quick replies. Told me on the second date that he was worried that he came off as too needy on the first date because of how affectionate he was. This all halted after we had relations on the second date. I've never experienced something like this and hopefully never will again. My ex told me he loved me after a couple of weeks and that he couldn't wait to move in with me. He bought me an Apple Watch and a million other things, wouldn't let me pay for anything, not even my own groceries, and started with the "I want to marry you someday" talk after like 6 weeks. I thought it was a little strange, but I still believed every word because I am the kind of person who cannot tell an emotional lie. And I've been ready for this level of relationship forever. Honestly, I believe he felt that way too, but doesn't know how to handle anything other than positive emotions in a relationship. After a few more months of observing him being confusing AF about his love and emotions, he broke up with me and blocked me immediately without any explanation. The day before, he had told me how much he loved me. I just can't. Lesson learned. Always trust the "this is a little weird" feeling in your gut. I fell for the bait. Hook, line, and sinker. Now 4 years later, after moving 3,000 miles to be with him, he threw me out like yesterday's trash without a second thought. He even told me that he doesn't miss me at all and is so much happier without me. It really hurt. He is a textbook narcissist. I had been together with my narcissistic ex-partner for 4 years. He admitted that he had been cheating with numerous women and had an STD. He kept it all hidden until one of his supplies messaged me and told me everything I had to know. I had been trying to move on, but he had been hoovering. I think I have this trauma bond with him that I cannot cut off. He had been showing his true colors. He really lacks empathy and no respect for boundaries, as if nothing happened. He manipulated me so well that it is so hard to move on. I am trying so hard with the no contact. I enjoyed Reesa's story and was unlucky enough to experience something very similar. I too have emails, texts, and screenshots for days. However, that story will remain between my friends, family, and I, LOL. Outside of her being a pretty good storyteller, the way she handled the criticism was immaculate. She was accountable, and even if she was offended, she did not become defensive, and she also was soft-spoken. I watched the story straight through, and it put me through so many emotions from, "Why the hell were you still with him?" to, "I get that, but darn girl, you have to do better." She has definitely started what will unfortunately become a trend, and people will ruin it as they do everything. But her story will definitely be something to talk about for years to come. Legion sounds like my ex-husband who was first diagnosed as bipolar with schizophrenic tendencies, but years later as a narcissist, before everyone was calling everybody else one. And there is no medication for that. All you can do is disengage. Wild times. The last man I lived with lied about everything. I slowly began to realize that when I met him, he lied about his name, age, occupation, family, education, nationality, and every other thing you can think of. He spoke to me with an accent because he said he was from Italy. He was from Texas, same as me. He used me for a place to live and cheated on me the whole time. I have not dated since I told him to leave. It will be hard to trust any man after this. I see men in a whole new, bad light now. My ex-husband was a pathological liar and narcissist. Reesa's not lying about how they fool you. Everyone said I was an idiot for falling for it. He went on to fool a doctor at the top of her field. I didn't feel so stupid after that. He left her with a child in debt just like me. Only difference is, there were minimal red flags at the start. He was perfect. That was the red flag. The things he would lie about weren't even necessary. It was his pleasure to hold power in knowing information that I didn't. Mainly, I just did not realize how or why anyone would feel the need to lie like that. I was in a relationship with a narcissist, with, I believe, undiagnosed borderline personality disorder, for 8 years. And when Reesa said that she started her audio diaries, I was like, yep, that sounds about right. She's definitely dealing with a manipulative individual. I remember being in my relationship and starting to feel like I needed to record every single conversation we had. He would constantly say things like, "I never said that," or "You must have forgotten." When I knew for a fact what I said but just couldn't prove it, I truly feel for her. So far, I haven't heard anything violent happening. My experience was violent. That's when it really set in like, what did I get myself into? I can remember whenever we argued, he would threaten to burn my house down and unalive us and our 2 kids. He said it so much that I believed he would. That's what kept me stuck. I felt like there was no getting out of that relationship alive. But as of today, it's been a year and 7 months free from his bondage. Thank you, God. I'm praying for this woman's healing because her trust is broken. I'm still healing.